Blessit X. I'm Joseph Womack, aka Blessit X, with my boy Alexander the Great.
How y'all doing?
So, welcome y'all. This is an opportunity for us to talk about situation and things that's going on in our lives and how we could help other people. I believe that we're living in a generation now that is, they say that we're awoke, but I believe we're sleepwalking. And I think that we need to have something, especially in the African American society, to have something to fight for. Besides a cop killing one of ours or situations, jobs, we need to have something to go after. And I believe that this is what people are looking for. And this is my opportunity to express what I believe that we could do. We got some good things for you that we're going to talk about from Martin Luther King and some other people that we're going to have. Y'all going to be able to see. But biggest thing, I ask you to subscribe, like, leave a comment, y'all, and leave some questions. You know what I mean? We're not here to fight. We're here to try to put something together. You know, this is not no religious thing. That's not what we're doing. Our goal is to really pick something out that we could just find out what it is and go after it. We're going to start it off with a Bible scripture, and this is something very powerful that I really wish people really look at, and I believe this is the situation that we're in the black society. So we're going to have it. We're going to have Alex read it. We're going to come from Genesis chapter 11, starting at the first verse.
Genesis 11, verses 1 through 10, King James Version reads, "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth."
Now, I'm going to hold that right there. So let's break this down. They wanted to come together, build a city. That was the goal. For they won't be spread abroad among the cities. So their common goal was, we're going to work on one thing. And the powerful thing, they had one language and one speech. And they had one common goal, to build a tower. Now, I believe no matter what it is, I think that in this time, we got too many things we're trying to build. We got a lot of things going on where people, you know, they're either fighting for civil rights, they're fighting for just different problems. And you could chime in too. You talk about it. There's a lot of things that we're fighting for that is not, like, you could be fighting for something, and guess what? I'm not for that. You know, and I see even nowadays, you know, let's say if I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim, we can't work together because your religion background. But it's sad because we should be able to come together and say, hey, you see that? We should be able to fix that.
Yeah, very true. So many times, a lot of people, they'll protest, but then that's it. They'll march, and then next day they're going back to work, doing the same thing that goes against what their protest was for.
And you know, I don't want to get about protesters because guess what? Is it me or they only protest on a Saturday?
Yeah.
They don't protest when I got to go to work. They know, hey, y'all, I can't show up. I still got to work. I still got my job, you know, but let's do it on a day that I have off. They do it on the least busiest day because guess what? If they protest during a time that really affects stuff, like let's say we in Tacoma, I-5. If they shut that down, man, we got the port, we got everything around here. If people decide that, hey, we're shutting traffic down, Tacoma would stop. From Tacoma to Seattle, all to Olympia, it will put a halt. But it's crazy because even talking about protests, when Martin Luther King's Day, when they protest that they were going to boycott the buses. that messed up people's money.
Yeah, because they found out if you mess up their money, then they'll see a change real quick. And once they stop seeing black people getting on the bus and they realized how much money they were losing, they was like, nah, we got to put an end to this. Let them sit. Let them do whatever they want, sit wherever they want. Let's just get that money back.
They could drive the bus as long as we start making our money.
Yeah.
But they had a goal, though, and that's the thing about it that really got me was they said, you know what? We're not going to march. We're not going to do that. We just going to make a stand. We're not doing this no more.
Mm-hmm.
We're done. And we're going to get into it. There's a lot of things that we're going to talk about that's going to be so deep. But nowadays, if we decided, hey, we're done with this. If y'all ain't going to help us, we're going to come together and fix ourselves. And I think we need to stop relying on other people to come in and help us. And we say, hey, what can we do to build our own?
Mm.
What can we do to make this happen that we could work together? Because it's sad because it took Nipsey Hussle to die for Bloods and Crips and everybody to come together.
Mm.
It's crazy thing to see. Like, man, y'all came together and stopped killing each other because of one person died.
Mm-hmm.
Who could have been a foreman. We don't know the whole story behind that. Could have been a foreman behind the FBI talking because he was trying to bring everybody together. He was trying to stop violence. He was saying, man, we need to have our own. We need to work together. We need to be entrepreneurs. He was in the city building, doing things, helping people out.
Yeah.
They don't like that. As soon as you start helping everybody else and they ain't going to the government or ain't going, hey, they start looking, why is they ain't coming here no more?
Mm-hmm.
So it was that, but it took him to die for everybody to come together to stop killing each other. And we see this, even going back to the boycott and going back to what's going on, we need a time that we could say, what is it that we could really sit down that could really help us develop as a unit, as one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get back to the scripture where it said they came together and they worked. One common goal.
Unification.
They had that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care what was going on. We had one goal and this was it. We're going to build together. We're not going to build other little cities around it or whatever. No. We're going to build ourselves up.
Mm.
We're so, as blacks, it said that we spend more money at other people's stores. It says the Asians will build up money with families. They'll get each one of them to give $10,000, and they get $100,000, and they'll come into black society and put a hair salon there.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And then take our money. Then once we give them all their money, guess what? They take it and go in their own places and help their own people out. They don't help us out.
Absolutely.
But I can't get mad at them. That's a hustle.
Yeah.
That's a come up. But guess what? If I take my black self in the Asian community and start putting myself in there, they going to kick me out real quick and fast. First of all, they ain't going to let me even have a place there.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be able to come as our own and say, this is it. But it's sad because once we as black people come together and start working, saying we got an African town or a black town, it looks racist, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can't do that. What do you mean we can't do that? Because it just looks racist.
Yeah, because they know how powerful black culture is.
We're one of the wealthiest cultures, but we spend so much money to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we had to come together. So go ahead and read the next one where you left off.
Verse 5, And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. Mm-hmm. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one.
Now look at that. They are one. Look how it is. When people see blacks as one, as a unit, there's a situation where Malcolm X is the favorite part of my video when I watched him. One guy went to jail. They told him to release him. Malcolm was in there talking. And he told the guy, look out the window. There's a bunch of Muslims out there. And all of a sudden they said, well, we're going to release him. He did a little hand signal. They turned and they walked out. And it said, one man should not have all that power. We got to get rid of him. That's powerful. Because even in our time, I think we're all fighting for power. We all want to be seen. We all want to be the best. If there's someone up here, guess what? We might cut their legs off for us to get up there. Jealousy. But if a major disaster happens, let's say 9/11, everybody came together. Even in churches, they said churches was full that Sunday. People want to know what they got to do, who they got to look. People were looking at people from overseas like, hey, who are you? They were working together. They had a common goal, because it's crazy, because fear will bring people together. I don't care what it is. If you're drowning and someone jumps in the water to save you, you don't care what color they are.
Very true.
As long as they save you, and as long as they can swim, instead of being two people that are drowning together. So the Lord came down and saw and said, the people are one. Go ahead.
And they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Wow, look at that. And one of my favorite words, he does a better job of pronouncing it. You can pronounce it for me. He does a better job of pronouncing it for me. It's a Latin word.
E pluribus unum.
Yeah, see, we always laugh about that. It's Latin. I didn't take that in school. But it means out of many became one. And, that's what my clothing line is. 1 and 3, 13. It means there's a lot of us. I don't care if you're short. I don't care if you're tall. I don't care if you're light-skinned. I don't care if you're dark. I don't care who you marry. I don't care about none of that. Your wealth status or anything, your sex status, who you love, I don't care. But if we could come together on one common goal, it will change everything. But they got us divided. That's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
As long as they keep us divided, oh, you're a homosexual, or you're a Christian, or you're a Muslim, or you're rich, you're poor, or you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. As long as they got us divided, they got us.
Yeah.
But it's the powerful thing is, once we're together as one, and we got one common goal, it changes everything. It changes the playing field. So I love that. So let's go on real quick.
Verse 7. Let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand another's speech.
Okay.
So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
They stopped. Look at there was a confusion that came in, that messed up their language, that messed up how they were talking to each other, that messed up communication. It's amazing how our communication can mess up many relationships. By what you say can mess up your relationship with somebody.
Yeah. I always told my ex-wife, it's not that you're talking to me, it's that you're talking at me. Because you could say the same thing 2 different ways and get 2 different responses. Somebody can say, hey, did you take out the trash? And you're like, oh, no, I forgot. And take out the trash. But then somebody could be like, go take the trash out. Why you being so lazy? Then you ain't going to want to take out the trash. Like, okay, don't talk at me, talk to me.
Did you drag the bag out, make sure the hole in it and everything laying on the floor? But it's you're right, because there's a book by John C. Maxwell, a great book. It said, everyone communicates, but only few connect.
That's powerful.
And I think that's what's happening. You're not connecting. You could talk about a situation, but guess what? Just because of what you are, I can't like you. We grew up in that generation with our parents who who were dealing with so much. Now we're at a time like, it's like, how can we come together instead of being divided? That's what happened to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. They tried to come together and build one. They said, no, we're not having that. We love that you guys are divided. We love that you guys are talking about the Christians and Muslims, and y'all fighting among each other. Y'all got two different things, one saying violence, one saying non-violence, and y'all talking about each other. They love that. But as soon as they said, hey, we kicking that out. We're going to work on one goal. We're coming together as one. And we're going to sit down and have a common goal of what we're going after. They said, nah, we got to divide that. And that's what happened here. God came down and divided it. Now look what else it says.
Verse 9, therefore is it the name called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
Now that's what we're going to end that right there with the scriptures. We're living in a Babel time. We got a Babel generation. Everyone's talking. We're all attacking each other. We're all going after certain things because you ain't doing this, we ain't working with you. Because you don't consider yourself a Hebrew Israelite and you're a Christian, we can't come together and work together. Because you're not a Muslim, we can't have you over here. So, but I'm telling us now, we've been scattered for so long, it's time for us to come back together. There's so many of us. If we decide to say, you know what, it's time to make a stand, what are we fighting for? What are we going after? How can we make a change? The world is ours. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to talk about it. Martin Luther King had a speech, The Other America. And this is what I believe. If we could work on this, if we could help each other and start finding stuff to go after that could develop us, we could make it work. It's time for us to stand up. 400 years of slavery, our generation has to stand up and say, this is what we're going after. It's crazy because growing up, I didn't care what color you were when we were playing basketball. All I knew, if you have my jersey on and you're on my team, we're one. I see you with me trying to destroy another team. That's where we got to get to. We got to realize we got one jersey on. And until we come together, nothing's going to happen. Did you picture a basketball team without having the right mindset? That's like LeBron James looking at J.R. Smith. Hey, LeBron James fan, I'm just letting y'all know that right now. So that's like him looking at J.R. Smith. He's like this. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? You were right there. What are you doing? I had to throw that in there, y'all. I had to throw it in for him. He gonna get mad at me, but hey, it's cool. Not knowing, not working together.
True.
LeBron was on the page. Hey, you got the layup. I got 50-something points. Now I have to go in the locker room and punch the wall and break my wrist.
Yeah.
It was his to win.
It was.
But look at it. If we come together as one and have the same mindset and everybody on the same page, nothing can stop you.
Absolutely.
That's like being in a war. You got a SEAL team together. They've been working together so long that all you have to do is a signal. All you have to do is look at him, make an eye contact. He already know what to do. They know what's happening. They're not even to speak. You got that. Even in sports, they know it. Hey, if I look at you, I'm throwing a lob. If I look at you too long, hey, I look away and look back, that means run. I'm launching it. You don't have to say a word. If a play breaks down, guess what? They already know what they're going into. So this is what I want to look at. Martin Luther King's speech, The Other America, which he said there was two Americas. And I believe there's one that's ours, which is divided, and there's one that's working together. And until we come together and build ours up, there's no way that we could worry about the other America. So he gave 3 things that I want him to go over, and we're going to break each one of them down and see how we see it. So go ahead and we'll start at the first one.
The first thing I would like to mention is that there must be a recognition on the part of everybody in this nation that America is still a racist country.
True.
Now, however unpleasant that sounds, it is the truth. And we will never solve the problem of racism until there is a recognition of the fact that racism still stands at the center of much of our nation. And we must see racism for what it is. It is the nymph of the inferior people. It is a notion that one group has all the knowledge, all the insights, all the purity, all the work, all the dignity. Another group is worthless, on a lower level of humanity, inferior. To put it in a physiological language, racism is not based on the imperial generalization which, after some studies, would come to conclusion that these people are behind because of environmental conditions. Racism is based on an outlogical affirmation. It is the notion that the very being of a people is inferior, and that their ultimate logic of racism is genocide. Hitler was a very sick man. He was one of the great tragedies of history, but he was very honest. He took his racism to its logical conclusion. The minute his racism caused him to sickly feel and go about saying that there was something innately inferior about a Jew, he ended up killing 6 million Jews. The ultimate logic of racism is genocide. And if one says that one is not good enough to have a job, that is a solid quality job, if one is not good enough to have access to public accommodations, if one is not good enough to have the right to vote, if one is not good enough to live next door to him, if one is not good enough to marry his daughter because of his race, then at that moment that person is saying that that person who is not good to do all of this is not fit to exist or to live. And that is the ultimate logic of racism. And we've got to see that this still exists in American society. And until it's removed, there will be people walking the streets of life and living in the humble dwellings feeling that they are nobody, feeling that they have no dignity, and feeling that they are not respected. The first thing must be on the agenda of our nation is to get rid of racism.
Wow. So that's the first thing. Get rid of racism. Something we got to deal with. I know racism is always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be there. You're always going to have people that are racist, and it's sad. You know what I mean? It's really sad. A lot of people won't marry other cultures or into the black. That's the biggest thing. It's not, Asians will marry Asians. We see that. I had a bunch of friends who said their parents told them, you better marry another Asian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because a lot of time people are influenced by what they see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get about Comcast. Don't worry. We're gonna dig into that. But it's what they see on TV and how they see how people are. I was over in London. People said, "Man, I've never been to America, but I watch TV. Is it really like that over there?" I'm like, "Wow, y'all watch that?" But it's what they see on TV is how they reflect who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And they see that, and I'm like, yo, that's crazy. But here he's saying the first thing we gotta do is get rid of racism. But I believe racism is embedded. It's passed down like a sickness.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people overcome that by, a lot of my friends who were white, they were like, man, you're the first black person I ever really hung out with or played with.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, and you get it. Then you go over to the house and their parents are like, man, you're the first black person we had over here. And I look at it like, either because there are no black people there or you're not used to this. And it was a shocker to me because we're just now really trying to come out of this. Racism is still here, and my mother and father's generation, that was the one that was able to go to different schools with whites. They was able to have that mixed schooling. And they still had a fight. They still had to worry about being called the N-word. They had that, and that's my parents. And guess what? Not too long ago, them parents are that were calling black people that. Guess what? They taught that to their children, and their children are my age. They're still dealing with that. They still got influence with that. I have some white people, they be like, man, my mom and dad still talk about y'all. Saying the wrong things, and, don't you dare go out there, and don't you talk to them, and they're like, man, what's wrong with them? And I'm like, that's that era. It's still being passed down. It's still being brought up. So we have to learn that it's gonna have to be talked about more. I think racism is something that people don't like to talk about. People would be like, why don't y'all just sweep it underneath the rug? It happened so long ago. Well, it happened so long ago, but you gotta look at a lot of people in America today that are black, their parents didn't go through slavery. They're talking about it now, the lady that did Harriet Tubman.
Janelle Monáe?
Yeah, they said her father was a slave owner. So it's like, wow. Like their generation, they none of them didn't have to go through that. None of their ancestors or anything like that had to go through being a slave. But a lot of people now that are in America, they said, well, yeah, my family haven't been a slave, but I'm black. Yeah, I get that. But they didn't go through the struggle. They didn't have to worry about their grandmother or grandfather being out there being raped, being worked all day long, and now they're coming here and they're talking about reparation and think everybody that's black's going to get it. That's not going to happen. I think they should do a DNA test and find out where you really come from.
Yeah.
Where your family really from here. If not, guess what? You ain't getting it. But it's so crazy about that. Even if they did that, let's say if they really find out and did a list, your family were not from America during slavery. That's going to divide black people even more. You're going to have it. I think it was the Boondocks. They call them Katrina babies or something like that. They were supposed to get some reparations. It was like, we're waiting for our Katrina money, they were calling it. A lot of people nowadays, if they got that and they realize that they're not going to get nothing, they're going to be divided. That's really true. People are going to be divided. It's going to cause a big chaos. Because you're going to realize that, first of all, you're not from here. You didn't struggle. And it's so easy for people whose family didn't struggle to say something. But why you even worry? Because guess what? It still has an effect. It still affects you. Something about it affects you. If you grow up with parents like that who told you stories about what they went through, that affects you still. Know that was your parents. So that's the biggest thing. The first one, he said, get rid of racism. And that's something that we have to do. There's some things that we have to take care of and do. So you want anything about that you want to throw in there?
I think racism is a construct that people hold on to as well, but I also think that there's a huge lie about racism. People say black people can't be racist. Everybody can be racist. And I think a lot of black people hold on to that lie because they want to say, oh yeah, slavery, but you can still be racist even though that's the fact, because every culture was a slave at one point. But a lot of people don't want to focus on that. They just want to focus on just black people as slaves. But everybody has been a slave to somebody at some point. Even now, we're slaves to technology. Slavery is always going to exist. It's just passed down to just what form it's going to be. We always got Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and people are checking that every 15 minutes. Because they realize, okay, they did a study on how to break it to make it so addicting. It's a drug now. And now you're a slave to your phone.
So you think, so I see it as them saying, we know how to get your focus off one thing and get it on the other.
Absolutely. Because look at any time there's a young black kid killed, especially by a white cop. What happens? They'll cover that story for a couple hours, but then they'll put out another news story that has nothing to do with that, and everybody will focus on that. How many people remember the story about H&M with the coolest monkey in the jungle shirt? Not a lot of people.
See? All right, Gucci and all
Yeah. Because they'll always put out something else to draw your attention away from what you were originally focusing on. And it works every time.
You know, when I turn on the news and watch, all I see is the whole thing about Donald Trump. That's it. Like, it's just Donald Trump. Like, they get our focus off what's really happened, what's really important. What is it? The cities that were tore up, the country that was tore up by the hurricane. Starts with a B. I don't say Barbados. That's not it. Bahamas.
Yeah.
They're tore up, and they're trying to survive. But guess what? They're talking about trying to impeach Donald Trump, which is really may not even happen. He might just really win again.
Exactly.
And they got all our focus on that, but guess what? That goes away.
Yeah.
But they don't want to focus on what really happening right now in this world. What we're really struggling with. You know, we're at a point that they know how to get us off track. They know how to get us off the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, where are we trying to go? What are we trying to do with this? Instead of working on racism and getting it taken care of, they don't want us to do that. So we got a lot on that. We'll talk about the racism. Next one we're going to go on to, this is the second thing that he was talking about.
Secondly, we've got to get rid of 2 or 3 myths that still pervade our nation. One is the myth of time. I'm sure you've heard this notion. It is the notion that only time can solve problems of racial injustice. And I've heard it from many sincere people. They've said to the Negro and to his allies in the white community, you should slow up. You're pushing things too fast. Only time can solve the problem. And if you'll just be nice and patient and continue to pray, in 100 or 200 years, the problem will work itself out. There is an answer to that myth. It is the time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or deconstructively. And I'm sad to say to you tonight, I'm absolutely convinced that the forces of ill will in our nation, the forces on the wrong side in our nation, the extreme righteous of our nation have been used time much more effectively than the forces of good. And it may well be that we have to repent in this generation, not merely for the volatile words of the bad people who will say bad things in a meeting like this, or who will bomb a church in Birmingham, Alabama, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, wait on time. Somewhere we must come to see that human progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts of persistent work and dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God, and without his hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. And so we must always help time and realize that time is always right to do right. Now, there is another myth, that this notion that legislation can't solve the problem, that you've got to change the heart, and naturally I believe in changing the heart. I happen to be a Baptist preacher, and that puts me in the heart-changing business. And Sunday after Sunday, I'm preaching about conversion and the need of new birth and regeneration. I believe there's something wrong with human nature. I believe in original sin, not in terms of historical event, but as the mythological category to explain the university of evil. So I'm honest enough to see the gone wrongness of human nature. So naturally, I'm not against changing the heart, and I do feel that that is half truth involved here. And there are some truth in the whole question of changing the heart. We're not going to have the kind of society that we should have until the white person treats the Negro right. Not because the law says it, but because it's natural, because it's right, and because the black man is the white man's brother. I'll be the first to say that we will never have a truly integrated society, a truly colorless society, until men and women are obedient to the unenforceable. But after saying that, let me point out the other side. It may be true that mortality cannot be legislated, but behavior can be regulated. It may be true that the law cannot change the heart, but it can restrain the heartless. It may be true that the law can't make a man love me, but can restrain him from lynching me. And I think that's pretty important also. And so, while legislation may not change the hearts of men, it does change the habits of men when it's vigorously enforced. And when you change the habits of people, pretty soon attitudes begin to change, and people begin to see that they can do things that fears caused them to feel that they could never do. And I say that there's a need still for strong civil rights legislation in various areas. There's legislation in Congress right now dealing with the whole question of housing and equal administration of justice, and these things are very important. For I will submit to you tonight that there is no more dangerous development in our nation than the constant building of predominantly Negro central cities ringed by white suburbs. This will do nothing but invite social disaster, and this problem has to be dealt with, some through legislation, some through education, but it has to be dealt with in a very concrete and meaningful manner.
Well, he said a lot in there. And one thing that he talked about was time. And a lot of time when people say time, that means they don't want to see change in their lifetime. They hate the Negro that bad that they said maybe the next generation, but right now in this time I got enough hatred towards you that I don't want to change.
Mm-hmm.
I love hating you. Ain't that crazy? I love to hate you. And it was sad because there was a book I was reading, and it was talking about how, I think it was Frederick Douglass, and he was talking about how is it that the white slave owner could rape, beat, and kill the slave, and on Sunday go to church and preach and be the deacon. He was talking about that, how powerful that was to see that. You're preaching one thing, but guess what? You're killing these people.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says, how can you say you love me and you hate your brother that you see every day? And Martin Luther King was saying that the biggest change had to be in the heart, which is the mind.
Yeah.
How you think and how you see your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And how you see each other. And it's sad because we always fight about, I hear it all the time, and we'll deal with it, how a white cop could kill a black man, but I'm in my family, and what's happening to us, we're fighting among our own people.
Mm-hmm.
We're killing our own. And until we stop killing our own, guess what? They still gonna kill us.
Yeah.
But it'll be a powerful thing when we're one, and they come in and try to kill our own. Guess what? We're going after them. Mm-hmm. That law that you're protected. No, that's not gonna happen. There's so much that we could do that in this day and time that we really got to look at him. He was talking about this. This speech was over 50 years ago. He was talking about this is what we need to change, the heart of man. And a lot of times they said time, they left it on time. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, you'll move up in due time. man, if you're putting all them hours in at work and you don't move up, you're going to go to another job.
Mm-hmm.
In time. And guess what? As soon as you start leaving, they'll be like, oh well, we got to make a change because now we got to move him up because he's going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't satisfied with what's going on. Now he's going to go to another job. We're going to lose somebody, but now we got to bump him up. We got to give him a quarter now. You worked that hard. And it took you to get ready to leave for someone to say, now we want to do this. A lot of times it's crazy. It's a lot of times people are on their deathbed, they didn't want to make a change.
Yeah.
Because they're scared to go to hell. And then they're trying to ask for forgiveness and everything else. No, you won't pay for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either you change now or be in trouble later. So that's what it is. He talks about time. And you got anything about time that he was talking about that you want to throw out there?
I think that they've started to play on the system when he was talking about time. Because all this time we've gone throughout society and we've seen certain things. We've seen the majority of things stay the same. But one thing that they'll do is they'll give us one thing to hold on to for a while. Mm-hmm. And that one thing was Obama. Mm. I've told people so many times, like, they'll give us a black male president way before they give us a female president. I even think that they'll give us a black male president before they do anything for a female president. We'll have a homosexual president before that because of how they see things. Mm. They don't want a female in charge, even though females are so strong and females can do a lot of things that can make a change to America, but we'll hold on to that one thing, we had Obama. And that's what they'll give us. This will hold them down for a while until they start rising up again. Then we got to figure out another thing. Mm-hmm.
Another tactic, yeah.
Yeah.
But they know it. Their system's already there. Mm-hmm. They're already grooming somebody for the next president after Donald Trump.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're grooming them. They're putting them there because they want us to do certain things, and we're gonna get into it. This is something. So this is very powerful. The next thing, 8 solutions to fix the Great America Crisis, by Mr. Allen. We're gonna have Alex read. This is what he had, and it's very powerful because I think there's some stuff I want to talk to you guys about that. I know about, and I see that happens in Tacoma, Washington. Not anywhere else, but just here. And that's what I want to talk about. We're going to go through some stuff, but this is what Allen wrote to President Obama. So we're going to get into it. This is very powerful. You don't know who he is, look him up. He had a powerful thing on the Breakfast Club not too long ago. Watch it, y'all. We're going to talk about what he's going through and how we need to get behind him 100% and push. All these celebrities out here, this guy is a celebrity. This is a real celebrity. This is a real person to be behind. So let's go to work. Let's see what it is.
Byron Allen sent this message. The great American hero Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told us 50 years ago in one of his last speeches, The Other America, that there are 2 Americas. One has privilege, education, housing, jobs, access to capital, and economic inclusion. And the other America does not. These 2 separate Americas will not survive. We need one America. One that includes housing, education, jobs, access to capital, and economic inclusion for every American. This will create a stronger America. Unfortunately, the speech that Dr. King gave a little over 50 years sounds like he just gave it yesterday. Every day we are seeing the ugly symptoms of 2 Americas. Whether it's Ferguson, Oakland, or Baltimore, the escalation continues. I was very disappointed in President Obama when he called those young men in Baltimore thugs and criminals. He is the President of the United States, and he should be above name-calling. But beyond the name-calling, here's what I found really disappointing. This is not the hope and change I believe the majority of Americans financially supported and voted for. President Obama and others know that we have positioned the African American community to fail. The statistical data proves it. This failure has now become the great American issue. These young men and others around the country that President Obama called thugs and criminals do not have access to quality education. They do not have access to jobs. They do not have access to capital that is not predatory. What they do have plenty of access to are drugs, alcohol, guns, gangs. This is economic genocide. What America must remember is that we are approximately 327 million people out of 7 billion globally. For America to compete with our international neighbors, we need all American citizens to bring their best intellectual capital and be fully engaged, today and in the future. Unfortunately, under the Obama administration, the statistical data has gotten worse and not better. Under the Bush administration, employment for the African Americans was 10%. Under President Obama, it has increased to 14%. Poverty for African Americans under the Bush administration was 25%. Under President Obama, it has grown to 27%. The median income for African Americans under the Bush administration was $38,409. Under the Obama administration, the median income has dropped to $33,321. For the African Americans, home ownership has dropped to a 25-year low. The wealth gap between white America and black America under President Obama has grown by 30%. These numbers are completely unacceptable. Every day we turn on our televisions broadcasting more tension, and I can't help but remember the words of music icon Jill Scott Heron, "The revolution will not be televised." Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best, "This will do nothing but invite social disaster." As he warned us more than 50 years ago, these numbers prove that America is on the verge of social collapse. Coretta Scott King was a personal friend, and she told me, as African Americans, we have faced four major challenges.
Now, hold on. This is what I want to get into. Now, he went over a lot about Barack Obama, but this right here is what we need to really take in. He talks about 4 things that Coretta Scott talked to him about, and 3 were worked on by her husband, King. The 4th one is the one that got him killed. She believes that this is the 4th one that got him killed. All the other stuff was good. You can fight for that, fine. But as soon as you open your mouth about the 4th one, nah, we gotta take you out. So let's look at them.
Americans, we have faced 4 major challenges. 1, in slavery. 2, in Jim Crow. 3, achieve civil rights. And 4, achieve economic inclusion. Without a quality education and economic inclusion, we are nothing more than modern-day slaves. Let's truly take off the chains. President Obama, with very little time left within our administration, clearly we have a lot to work to do. So here is what we need to accomplish to make Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream and all of our dreams a reality.
Now watch this. I always hear people say, what did Barack Obama do for us?
Nothing.
I'll wait. But he talks about this. We need help. We talk about good education, ending slavery, all this stuff. But guess what? Without the money, nah, it ain't gonna work. You could graduate now from high school, get a college degree, and guess what? You still ain't gonna get a job.
Because you still don't know nothing.
You still could work at a job making only $15 an hour and not making enough. 40 hours a week. Thinking Donald Trump said it, that was a part-time job, 40 hours a week. You gotta really kill yourself almost to make enough money to cover your house, food, and if you got children, man, just gas alone in your car will kill you. Depends where you're driving. If you're driving from Tacoma to Seattle, man, sitting in that traffic every day, man, that'll kill you. But we need money. We need the help to put your kids in good colleges, get good education, instead of running them to schools, because we're in a system now, and you talk about it too, child left behind. Man, they didn't leave us behind. They turned us around and pushed us. They said, you ain't following us. No, that's not going to happen. No child left behind. Every child is being left behind now. They put you in that education system, because I worked and I saw it for what it's worth. Instead of suspending kids and not saying they have a list that said they suspend kids, guess what? In school. They put them in detention all day long. They sit in school all day long and sit there. And it's like, yeah, we got no suspension. Our suspension went down. Yeah, because you're keeping them in there. They're not there. It is our system, our education system is so corrupt and messed up that even teachers are frustrated. Principals are upset. They said, if we change this, guess what? We're going to get fired. So guess what? I need a paycheck. So I'll go along with the system. And that's what they do to our kids. They push them through. A lot of kids can barely read or write or do math or anything, but they push them through. It's not our responsibility. We want to have high numbers saying we got a high graduation. There's a lot of kids that graduate, over 85% can't read their diploma. How crazy is that? But they push them through. And they get out there, and guess what? They don't have nothing. We're seeing it for what it's worth nowadays. A lot of people out here, Tacoma, Seattle, we're seeing a lot of people who saying, I'm not even going to work anymore, homeless. They got these camps going up. A lot of people say, I don't want to deal with nothing. Now I'm rather get my check and call it a day. And we're seeing this for what it's worth. They said they got more dog shelters than homeless shelters. Sad thing. Education is failing us. If you ain't going to stay at home and help your kids, educate them, you're failing them. It's not the teacher's job anymore. It's the parent's job. The help. It's time to build, to sacrifice for your children. It really that time to do it. We're going to get into it. He gave us some 8 things to deal with. And we're going to go through them real quick. Go ahead.
Number 1, education reform. With the 47% inner city high school dropout rate, Baltimore alone is 59%. We need education reform. We must invest more capital and resources to educate our children so that they are prepared to achieve a college-level education. Hire students to tutor pre-K through 12. This will help provide much-needed jobs and educate our children at the same time. Issued American education bonds that pay a tax-free yield. The bonds that will help educate our children and the tax-free yield will incentivize the $15 trillion in cash liquidity that Americans have to invest.
Now watch this. We saw it on the news. Chicago teachers had a strike. And the kids had to pay for that.
Oh, wow.
The kids had to pay for that. Well, they got to go to school even longer. Last year, 2019, 2018, it was when they had to sit down with they had to strike with Tacoma School District. Our kids had to cut their Christmas short and do all that because the teachers were fed up they weren't getting paid. Now think about the kids. What if the kids said, I'm not going to school because I want a better education? If they had, hey, we having a walkout. We don't like our education system. It ain't doing us any good. You see the numbers. You see the dropout. You see where we're at. We need to stand up and say, this is what's going on. We need a better education system. Because, like I said, it's crazy. The teachers don't feel like they're getting paid. Guess what? They ain't coming to school. We're doing a strike. We're striking. We don't care. We don't care about your kids. Because they care about their money. But it's us as kids, we need to care about our education. Eric Thomas talked about it. The new money is education as well. By what you know, you get paid for it.
Yeah.
There was a story, and it's very powerful to me. There was a guy, it was a big old machine that was broken down, and they paid this guy to come in. It cost him so much money to do it, so he walked in, he heard it. He took a hammer and hit a spot. The machine started working. It cost him $9,000 to do that. Just to hit that machine. And the guy was like, "Are you serious?" The guy's like, are you serious? He said, "I got to pay you that much?" He said, "Yeah, it's the knowledge I know. You're paying for the knowledge."
Are they hiring?
I wish they was. I could use I could swing a hammer.
Me too.
I could break everything.
And I'm a drummer, so I'll swing both hammers.
Break it stuff.
I'll turn into Thor real quick.
I fixed it. You can get it. So that's the education system which needs to be fixed. We'll deal with that. Go ahead. 2.
2. Ensure access to non-predatory home loans. U.S. taxpayers invested approximately $475 billion to bail out the banks and other large corporations. Audit the banks and mandate that they make home loans to all Americans, especially African Americans, the furthest left behind, so that the African American community can close the large home ownership gap. 3. Audit the banks and mandate that they make business loans to African Americans owned businesses. This is very important because 60% of the unemployment in America is provided by small businesses, and African Americans are not able to employ people in our community without the necessary capital. 4. Make the internet free. At the very least, you can make sure that the internet is free in areas that are poverty-stricken. Without the internet and access to information, poverty-stricken households will never catch up to households above the poverty line, throwing the African American community deeper into the Stone Ages. This is also in the best interest of Homeland Security. Every American should have access to real-time information at affordable prices. 5. Equality and justice. Your former Attorney General Eric Holder told that the world that, with all things being equal, African American males receive 20% longer sentences than white American males committing the same crime. Please launch civil rights investigations to correct this and numerous other injustices. Number 6, government economic inclusion. Make sure that the 100% African American owned media participates in your annual $2 billion advertising budget such as join the Army, join the Navy, join the Marines, etc. This ad support will support much needed capital to create jobs and help to ensure that all of our voices are heard and widely distributed, which is the very definition of true democracy.
Okay, hold on real quick. I'm going to go over a few of them. We're going to go over the next 2 after that. He talked about the housing, and it's very powerful about that because in 2008, that was the situation. Housing market crash. People lost so much. People used to leave their keys on the counter and walk out. I ain't paying for this. You want me to pay more than what the house was worth? Oh, they left. And people that had money was able to come up so quick on housing. And I was talking to people about housing and real estate. They said there's another one coming.
Absolutely.
2021, they already predicting it, that this one that is coming. So we have to watch out for that. So the housing situation. Then it said making the internet free, number 4, the internet part was very powerful because Amazon, one of the number 1 sellers right now, they're saying, guess what? We're missing out on other people because of the internet. So they're putting satellites everywhere. Their goal is to put so many satellites up that people are able to go online no matter where they're at in the order. You could be in the middle of the boony desert, and they're trying to make sure that they can make these drones that'll drop it off to you.
Nice.
They said, we're missing out on billions of dollars. How can we fix this? They said, hey, internet. And guess what? If the internet was free, you know how many people would be out there, man? They make so much more money. Because people won't have no issue saying, I can't get service right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always online. I can order whatever I want. And that's where we're going, an online situation, because from Safeway to all these other stores, people are ordering online. They driving right there, and either they're getting it dropped off at their house, or they're driving up to a spot, and people bringing it out, and they paid for it.
Mm.
They don't have to go in the store no more, interact with people. You know, you go to the store, you don't want to see everybody. I think the most busiest day to go in the store sometimes either after 5 or after church on Sundays.
That's why I always go at 2 a.m.
Oh, that's you. I gotta eat whenever. Number 5, it says, you know, the time for black people when they get in trouble, 20% more than the white counterparts.
Very true.
There's a book called The New Jim Crow. Everybody got to read that. I think kids in school got to be able to read that. The New Jim Crow. It talks about how they are using us as money in jail. They have to send a certain amount of people to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not guilty, they're finding a way. You could have tickets. They'll go back and look how many red lights you ran. They give you tickets and say, hey, you got to pay for this. And if you can't pay for it, guess what? You're in court.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're doing time for it. You jaywalking, you're in court. You get these petty crimes, and they got to put you in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're doing to us. Number 6, inclusion. He talked about this buddy. He's having a fight with Comcast.
$300 million.
Come on, man. If y'all don't know about that, y'all gotta look it up, y'all. I can't give you the major things, but he's fighting Comcast, and it's November 13th. You know, it's number 13, y'all. That we have to look for. He's fighting them. Mm-hmm. And we all got to be behind them, because that's a big issue and a big problem that we're having. If y'all don't know, just look it up. Yo, big thing about that. So, yep.
Byron Allen.
Yes. All right. Next.
Number 7, access to capital. President Obama, or now President Trump, you control approximately $1 trillion in government worker pension fund money. None of that capital is managed by people in the African American community or invested with entrepreneurs from the African American community. This access to capital and investments will provide much needed jobs and opportunities in our communities. Lastly, number 8. Stand up to cooperate institutionalized racism. A top AT&T executive was recently caught in the horrific act of sharing a meme that used the N-word. A subsequent lawsuit revealed AT&T had been covering it up for close to 2 years, perpetrating institutionalized racism. The executive in question was a key player overseeing the merger of AT&T and DirecTV. TMZ reported, do not let AT&T buy DirecTV for $67.5 billion and become the largest telecommunications and television company without launching a civil rights investigation and making sure AT&T settles a lawsuit against them for these heinous acts, racist acts. If we don't send a message to corporate America that institutionalized racism is completely unacceptable, Black America will never truly participate in the economic landscape. President Obama or Trump, for most African Americans, the American dream is a nightmare. The nightmare has become the great American crisis. Half the women in this country are living at or below the poverty line. If our mothers fail, most likely will our children. President, please remember we bought the hope and change you promised us. If we do not achieve economic inclusion as laid out to us by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 50 years ago, there will be no change and we will lose all hope. Most of the solutions on this list you can achieve without the support of Congress. President, please stop the economic genocide.
All right. So, after all said and done, we need to come together for one common goal. We need to be able to have, what did he say? What was the fourth one?
The fourth one was make the internet free. Oh, achieve economic inclusion.
So this is what we need to fight for. That's what we need. How can we do that? What do we got to do?
Stop fighting ourselves.
And help each other.
Mm-hmm.
Start shopping at black stores.
Why do you think people don't shop at black stores?
Good question, right?
I thought so.
I know you answered good. You asked the question. I know. Throw it back on you. I don't know. I really think it's a random act. A lot of people don't either know where black stores are at, or really want to go to a cheap store, like, you know, don't want to spend a lot of money somewhere. You'd rather go to a store that's close by to get what you want, and it's cheaper. Amazon is able to wipe people out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think about it. If you can save 50 cents, you're gonna save 50 cents. Because over time, that goes to a higher amount. Bigger stores could wipe out little stores. Will destroy them. And the last thing people want to see is other black people getting over on other black people. Which means he's wealthy now, but I'm still poor. Jealousy. They don't want to do it.
Okay.
They'd rather go to Mr. Walmart and go there. But a lot of union stores won't go to certain places. They know, hey, no, we're not going there. They, as a union, no, they don't care what color if you're part of the union, we're not shopping there. I don't want to see you there. But they have one common goal. And that's where I'm at with this. And like I said, we're going to have a lot more videos about what we can do and what can help us and what can help us develop us to move forward. But we have to. We have to. I think the biggest thing right now is get behind Allen about this Comcast deal. Huge. A self-made billionaire that is black. He owns the Weather Channel. He is the real celebrity. Everybody else got other hands in it. They're controlled. They're puppets. They're controlled by different people. You know, and it's sad to say. It's like, and I want to talk about it real quick. We're going to end it with this one. With LeBron James.
What did he do?
When he tried to speak up for the situation overseas.
Oh, okay.
He's controlled by Nike. You let them endorsements be taken away. If they tell you to shut up, that means shut up.
Kind of like Jordan did all his career?
Yeah. Yes. You see that? He got a good excuse why he didn't say nothing.
Why? Why is that?
I was just focusing on basketball.
Yeah.
What?
That's a cop-out reason.
And Chicago going down?
Because the Wizard ain't win not one championship.
I know. All them people dying in Chicago? All them people that got shot and killed over Jordans? You can't sit up and say anything? And now you want to come out and try to speak? Nah, I don't like that. You're too old now.
Yeah.
What were you in the 90s when you're Air Jordan? You're making all the dunks. Now you're the Wizard missing everything.
Them endorsements
will shut you up. You open your mouth about anything. Think about how powerful it would have been if Jordan would have been a leader.
You think he would have been a real GOAT if he did?
Oh, people would, man, his shoes would have skyrocketed. Nobody would have bought. You ain't buying any other shoes. Parents be like, this is what we buy. I don't care what the price is, we buying them. We buying those because we would have stood up behind them. True. Guess what? He would have came up with his own brand. They would have made sure he was wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like LeBron James. You better not open your mouth. And before you say anything, you got to go to them. You got to go to Nike and say, this is what we're talking about.
Mm.
With the Serena twins, that whole thing with Nike. When she wore that little...
The Serena twins.
I call them twins.
The Williams twins.
Serena.
Serena and Venus.
Thank you. I'm getting excited over here. So, but when she had that, Nike's jumped in.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a fight. They backed her up. But not knowing, if you read the history behind Nike, they were racist too.
Yes. All these companies that people want to go out and buy are racist.
Because they didn't. You watch the story behind Michael Jordan.
Racist. Yes.
They didn't want him.
Sure didn't. I don't think anybody does, but it is
But
what it is.
he started making all that money, and money talked.
Yeah.
Money looked over racism.
Sure did.
So he gonna bring in this much? Oh, we got a new modern day slave.
Mm-hmm.
And they used him to bring in more shoes. Then they gave him his own thing.
Yeah.
And even in the league, they didn't want him to play. He was getting fined his first years of playing in the shoes.
Mm-hmm. Because he didn't get him cleared.
And they were paying for the fine.
Mm-hmm.
They knew how much money he was worth.
Yep.
But nowadays, we got to step up. And that's why Mr. Allen is so powerful. And we got to have his back in this. Because self-made, he can say what he wants. And we need a person like that in this day and time. So look him up, y'all. I thank y'all for tuning in. We're going to close this one out, y'all. You got any last thing to say before we close out?
I'm good.
You good. All right, y'all. So thank you for tuning in to our first one. Many more to come, y'all. We appreciate it. I'm your boy, Joseph Womack, a.k.a. Blessit X.
Alexander the Great.
Yo, and hey, look out for the next one, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Have a blessed day.
Perfect.